Greetings. Hopefully you guys are doing well. We're a bit into the Lenten fast. Hopefully things are going well. Today we're going to continue on with letter 18 of The Spiritual Life by Saint Theophan the Recluse. If the difficulty that I've had trying to read this letter to you is any indicative at all, correlation to the spiritual significance that it might have for you, I would encourage you listen through this. I believe that this letter is meaningful and very important to many, if not all, of our spiritual lives, and it has wisdom and insight. Let's continue with letter 18, the one thing needful. Now there is nothing to prevent us from turning our minds to a solution of the remaining problem. To reacquaint ourselves with the subject, however, let us briefly recall what has been said already. We agreed that man has 3 or 5 included in the intermediate levels of life, the spiritual, intellectual, and corporal, that each one of them has its aggregate of needs, those natural and peculiar to man, that these needs are not all of equal worth, but instead some are higher and others lower, and that the balanced satisfaction of them gives man peace. Spiritual needs are above all, and when they are satisfied, then even though the others are not satisfied, peace exists. But when the spiritual needs are not satisfied, then even though all other needs are richly satisfied, there is no peace. That is why the satisfaction of them is called the one thing needful. When the spiritual needs are met, they teach a person to harmonize with those needs the satisfaction of the other needs, so that neither the needs of the intellect nor the needs of the body interfere with the spiritual life, but instead aid it. Then within a person is established complete harmony of all motions and revelations of his life. There is a harmony of thoughts, feelings, desires, undertakings, relationships, pleasures. And this is paradise. Contrary to this, when the spirit is not satisfied and this one thing needful is forgotten, then each of these other needs runs off in a different direction. Each one demands fulfillment of its own needs, and their muddle and cry, like noise at a bazaar, deafen the poor person. And he runs around like a madman trying to satisfy them. But he never has peace, because when one need is being satisfied, the others are not. And not considering themselves to be inferior to that need which is being honored with fulfillment, persistently demand their own satisfaction. Just as children make demands of their mother when she is feeding one child and the other 5 are crying. That is why there is noise, racket, agitation on all sides, and disorder in everything inside such a person. This is just how the turbulent zone that we have been discussing in general comes into being. And it even further disturbs and disorders everything that is within. Such a person is never satisfied with anything, always has difficulties, stands about wearily, and having looked about himself is bewildered where to begin. And so he goes dizzily around and round. This is a vanity and downfall of the soul. This is also the starting point of the question, just how is one to be? What must be done in order that the spiritual aspect be made supreme in us, and by ruling everything, put our lives in order? I will tell you right now that this question would be pointless if the life peculiar to us developed as it is supposed to. For both the bodily and intellectual needs are natural to us, just as are the spiritual needs, and the satisfaction of them cannot in and of itself create disorder and confusion in our lives any more than does the satisfaction of the spiritual needs. Develop them all in harmony and in natural mutual subordination, and then human life would flow like a charm. Plant a seed, water it, keep it in the warmth it needs, and it will put out a sprout, and then a stem, and a leaf, and finally a beautiful flower. That is how it would be with a person. Let him open himself in the natural order, and you would always have an excellent person as a result. But why is it then that we do not see this excellence in ourselves or others? How do our lives get distorted? Recall how you felt after you were immersed for a little while in that whirlpool or turbulent life. Indeed, you experience a lot of inner confusion. If this were to be repeated a few times, if you did not take some precautions, you would be caught up in that very same whirlpool, and you would have that life which is vain and the downfall of the spirit. Thus, could we not explain our disorder by saying that it is caused by disorderly people, that we are attracted to them, and we take on their disorderliness? You have just now come under the influence of this disorderliness, because your upbringing was under the regulating influence of your devout family and relatives. Others, however, whose families and relatives live in turbulence and confusions, take on this confusion from childhood and grow up in it. Perhaps this is the reason why our lives are diverted from their natural course and unnatural confusions enters within them. No, this does not explain the matter, for then the question still remains: how did confusion enter into this group of people? Why does it exist in families and society? What is outside of a man is a manifestation of that which is within him. Disorder enters into the family and society from man. There is nothing within him which will not be manifested eventually outside of him. Then the outer gives back to the inner that which is received from the inner. Once again, the question arises: how did this confusion enter into man? Again, I would say the outer turbulence influences the inside and reproduces itself there, because the seed of it and predisposition to it is already within. You were confused and could not find peace. Why? You were silent about it, but I did not tell you, because it was not the right time. Now I will tell you. During those 2 days when you were immersed in that turbulent life, you were carried away. Your heart sympathized, if not with everything, then with many things. It was from these sympathies that turbulence and confusion arose within you. When you came to yourself, you saw something new within yourself. Your conscience reported to you that this new thing was your doing and that it was improper, and it began to punish you. Heeding this voice, you then considered everything carefully and correctly appraised that way of life. After this, if you should happen to fall again into this confusion, and if, as I have told you more than once, you keep your heart detached, not letting it have its will, then it will begin to break with its sympathies, and you will not experience the anguish which you experienced. I am reminding you of this, however, in passing, because what I am talking about is how you, who have lived in a different order up to this point, could have sympathy for disorder. Think about it, and you will find that the sympathy exists and had existed previously within, but it was hidden, and now has come outside. Outside influences do not create anything new, but merely act on what is already within. I will tell you an example. I have seen lepers. Their children are born healthy and normal looking, and they grow up healthy. But the time comes when the leprosy manifests itself in them, and they begin to be like the parents and all other lepers. Where did this leprosy come from? From within. And how did it get there? It was there at birth. From this, it will be simple for you to make the conclusion that if we see within ourselves disorderliness and confusion, thoughts, feelings, desires, undertakings, acts, and if we swirl around in them, it is because the seed of all of this has entered our nature, and this seed of disorderliness being unleashed along with the unleashing of our forces and needs introduces confusion within us and causes our lives in this way to be confused and turbulent. Think over now, if you will, where this seed comes from. I say think this over, if you will, because we can in no other way find a satisfactory answer to the question which has already been repeated several times. How is one to be? Whoever wishes to successfully treat a disease must find its cause. Without that, the cure cannot have a correct course and success. That is what must be discussed at this point. All right, guys, we'll get into some things that I think are very meaningful and important. And again, hopefully you're able to listen through these letters. I think they're important to us. And I'm looking forward to the next letter of 19, which then talks about our ancestral sin. I'll talk to you on the next Orthodox Gardener.